But unfortunately, we do not live in wise monarchies. We live in old cranky
Shame.
democracies. So that's the way we have to we have to play the systems we live in. Yeah.
If I became a monarch, I would adopt a Bitcoin stand. Just putting it out there.
Maybe we should start a geyser fund for your, reclaiming of the throne, Philip. What do you think?
You guys, Bitcoiners.
The pleb army, of course. No, but like, I'd like to emphasize this point I made in the beginning, that we are Bitcoin. The saying goes, we're all Satoshi, but it goes deeper than that. We're all Bitcoin. So we all have to play our part, and we are the ones that are making this thing happen, because we are Bitcoin. It cannot function without us, and it cannot. We're the ones that need to make it happen. So yeah, try to influence everyone you can, especially if they're in positions of power.
And don't feel embarrassed.
I have a question. So first of all, thank you for coming here, both of you. In the preparation of this event, we have announced you, Philip, as a speaker, and we said, okay, we are thrilled and happy that you join us on Twitter. And you know that there was a very controversial discussion about this, and the accusation was that how could we, as freedom-loving Bitcoiners, invite a monarch who is an advocate for monarchy and wants to enslave us all, basically. So, just summing it up.
Yeah, you got me there. I want to enslave you guys.
So,
yeah.
what would you say to those critics, and what's your viewpoint on democracy in general?
Firstly, it's lovely to be at Hotel Princess. I wish my wife could join us because she's the princess. But sorry, what was the question?
Absolutely.
What would you say to those people who are very critical about?
So
you as a person?
they have a point, because Bitcoin is, as we all know, rules without rulers, and I agree. And I think I read the person that we're talking about, who started this conversation. His first comment was something along the lines of that, why inviting this prince? I heard him on some podcast, I think with Stefan Livera, and he argued for the case of monarchy. Well, obviously, I'm going to argue for the case of monarchy, because I'm a prince, and
you're not biased at all, Philip.
No, I'm not biased at all. No. But here's the thing: I'm arguing for it because Serbia has gone through, and Yugoslavia, the region, has gone through a lot of shit over the last 70, 80 years since communism, and this wouldn't have happened had there been a monarchy still in place. Serbia actually, or I'd say Yugoslavia, was an asset-rich, independent, sovereign nation that was really developing a lot of wealth pre-Second World War. Then communism ideology really took off. Second World War happened. My great-grandfather was assassinated in 1934. And my grandfather was not old enough to be king. He was too young, so his cousin became the regent king. He was slightly different to how my great grandfather was, and he basically didn't advise my grandfather very well. He was trying to do some power grabs, and then this is all starting going into Second World War. He even had meetings with Hitler, which people don't want, people that don't want you to know about that. But yes, then my grandfather became king in 1941, and by that point it was too late, and the whole Second World War happened, and then here we go. The Brits and the Americans actually ended up supporting Tito, and they wanted to have a socialist Yugoslavia rather than a strong, independent, asset-rich monarchy, because it was easier to control as failing six-part state, socialist state, than it is an independent monarchy. People don't know this, but Yugoslavia during the communist years actually did more trade with the West. 60% of their GDP was doing trade with the West. That really doesn't really make sense. If you're communist, you're part of the Eastern Bloc and all that, but they played both sides, and this was propped up by American money, by British money. a lot of socialists in Yugoslavia and former Yugoslavia who are now starting to see that it wasn't really the case. We're saying that the socialist Yugoslavia were the best of times, but that was of a weird and emotional picture that was painted thanks to the technological revolution that was experienced all over the world post Second World War. And so regardless if there was socialism there or if it was a monarchy, as long as it was dealing with the West, it would have this technological revolution, and people feel that they're getting richer, and and things are really doing well. But what happened was when Tito died, as there was like any dictatorship, there's no proper succession planning as you would have in a monarchy, and a monarchy is all about long-term, low preference, long-term thinking. It all fell apart. It also fell apart when the Warsaw Pact, which was the Eastern attempt to create something like NATO against NATO, and that fell apart in I forget which year, but that led to American money, because at that point Yugoslavia didn't mean that much to the Americans. So the money dried up, and that was the end of Yugoslavia. The country just disintegrated, and and then we saw the independence of Slovenia, Croatia, Macedonia, the bloody wars of Bosnia. We saw Montenegro leaving, and then we saw the so-called independence of Kosovo in 2008 recently as well. So an absolute mess that I think would have been avoided if there was a monarchy. That during the monarchy years, all religions, all people, everyone's sovereignty, identity was protected. You could be Muslim, Catholic, Orthodox, and you would be respected. During the communist years, religion was not really practiced. It was put to the side, and you were forced to just, what communism does.
Yeah, you were forced to adopt the state religion, basically.
Adopt the state religion, yeah. So religion was a little bit forgotten, really. And this angered a lot of people. The Serbians in the region. They're very religious people, and this obviously blew up in people's faces afterwards when you have a nation that's in disarray because the money and the capital's not there anymore. Then religions are going to turn on each other, and this has happened all the time, and also fueled by outside forces such as NATO. Well, we're not going to get into that.
May I add some stuff to this, Filip?
Yeah, sure.
Because one of the most taboo things to criticize in today's world is democracy itself. We hold democracy, almost everyone in every Western democracy holds democracy as this big breakthrough thing that is like the best thing ever, and we can't criticize it. And we can't think of new systems that are to replace democracy. But brave thinkers have been thinking outside of this box. And there's if you study Austrian economics and libertarian idea traditions, many thinkers have been thinking these thoughts before. It's just that they're not very popularized in mainstream media and in schools. I mean, because we're being indoctrinated for 12 years in public schools. Almost all of us were. We were sitting there in an institution that was paid for by the state, or rather by our parents, because the state took the money by force. And we were told for 12 years that is the only thing to conduct, that is the correct way to conduct business. And if you're daring enough to question that, you're very often critiqued by people like that person on Twitter that critiqued this hotel for inviting Filip here. So I recommend reading Austrian literature, Austrian economics, and some of those books. There's a book by Hans Hermann Hoppe called Democracy, the God That Failed, that goes into why democracy might not be the best thing ever. And disclaimer, I have a beginner's level praxeology book coming up next week. So you may start with that one if you want to, like a gateway drug to praxeology.
Also, good book to read is a book by Prince Hans Adam called Millennium in the Third State. Liechtenstein. Yes, sorry. It's called. I'm dropping my words right now. Very good cocktail bar.
It was, wasn't it?
It's what's the future? Do you know this book?
I'm not familiar with the book of that prince from the Liechtenstein, Philip.
I have it at
Sorry.
home, but I just skimmed through it.
I like the book The Emperor's New Clothes by H.C. Andersen, if you've read that. It's a children's book. That is very eye-opening.
Sorry, I'm googling something.
Okay.
Yeah. The state in the third millennium. And recently I watched a presentation he did at the Oxford University Union about where he talked about the topics in this book and talking about self-determination and direct democracy and how Liechtenstein has adopted this self-determination and direct democracy, which actually seems to be working in their country. And they can vote out, any individual or like canton or can actually vote out the monarchy if they choose to. And no one wants to because it actually works very well. The monarchy there it acts as the last check, acts as a balance, and acts as the continuation of traditions, of cultures, of the culture. And people like that. And because of that, Liechtenstein, yes, it's a small example. It's only got 50,000 people, but it has one of the highest GDP per capita in the world, and it's doing very well. I'm going to be going there in the next couple of weeks, hopefully to speak to Prince Michael, Prince Philip. We're going to a one-day conference there, talking about the case for private money, i.e. Bitcoin. And I'm going to try and introduce the topic of Bitcoin. I'm sure they know about it, but anyway, going back to the whole monarchy thing and democracy, if you want to look at how democracy can work with a monarchy, I think Liechtenstein's a good example. And if you want to see where democracy, the only democracy that works in this world, I think Switzerland is example.
Yes, and that's because they have a vote. They vote every time they're supposed to. They have to raise taxes.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
therefore taxes are never raised.
Yep.
So that's why it works.
And it's decentralized canton system with more of a direct democracy, which you don't have in any other part anywhere in the world. Like in America, it's a fake democracy.
Yes, I still think we should ban Switzerland before we ban Bitcoin, though. All right, more questions?